Dr. Talleyrand, actually, who's on the board of the Emerald Conference. Actually, Matthew, if you want to tell him
Yeah,
what we
so
were.
one of the other ends of what we've done, the 6,000 studies, 20 years of research we've done, we've developed proprietary cannabis profiles. So we did
Hmm.
the research of exactly which terpenes, cannabinoids are going to be best for which effect. So instead of testing the genetics that are already out there to say what they do, we kind of like created the optimal profile of if you were going to create something based on the science, what would be the best. And we built formulas based on that. So with Nicole, we had an HIV profile that addressed anti-inflammation, addressed antiviral, depression, each of the things that she dealt with. And we went through the data of that, where she tested out 7 of the different profiles, rated how well they did. 70% of the profiles did extremely well. So we're going forward with an actual study to look at her blood work and the changes that are actually taking place with that.
And nobody in cannabis is really creating a targeted formula for an individual. We're always trying to mass market the blanket to everybody, but because of what we're able to do, we can really hone in and dial in a tailored formula to meet the needs of an individual patient. So it's not just knowing what the patient needs, but also taking away what the patient doesn't need out of this. And that's something else we can identify.
Dimitri down here, Mita Unshackled, Emerald 2024, San Diego. How you guys doing?
Wow.
We're doing
You
great.
see a big smile on my face because Ryan's in the audience. Love that guy. That is my man. You know, he's like, if they were gonna invent something better than an Eagle Scout, it would be called a Ryan Scout. Telling you, just like a whole nother category of something that hasn't been invented that it's gonna have his name on it.
Beautiful.
It's a legacy project. So how are you guys doing? How's Emerald treating you guys?
Doing wonderful. It's been exciting, educational, lots of exciting new research.
So Matthew, I understand you're the mastermind behind Cannalytics.
Yeah, been about 20 years of research. My background's neuroscience, cognitive science. Personally, cannabis was the only thing that helped me sleep at night. I have a brain that doesn't shut off and changed my life. So past 20 years are really dedicated to understanding how cannabis can affect different medical conditions, different adult use effects, and really helping pair people with the cannabis profiles that would give them the best results and really give them the quality of life that they could get out of cannabis.
And so how did you guys get hooked up?
Oh, we met a little while back. Had reached out, kind of to explore doing a cultivation project together. We had some mutual friends and became quick friends and quick partners. I realized something very special in Matthew, and since then we've been partners and came up with Cannalytics, which is a program that he over the last 20 years have basically built out. And so we wanted to create a product, and we're here to get this out into the marketplace and share it with the world. And so together we've created a platform that I think will change the industry.
And what's your experience like? I mean, how did you get into developing software?
So my background's computer science, neuroscience. So really have a background in development, programming. I've built virtual reality platforms for guided meditation, so other type of mental health things having to do with development. Personally, cannabis has been the most impactful, positive element in my life, and I
Right?
wanted to share that same type of benefit with other people for what they deal with as well. So it's really just been a lifelong passion, and I wanted to really get to the bottom of the science, understand the cannabinoids, the terpenes, the way they interact together. So for whatever medical condition, type of effect you're looking for, we can pair you with which profiles are really going to provide the best effects.
So did you get to the bottom of science?
Yeah,
Did you figure it
yeah,
all
we
out?
did. So 20 years going
You have
through
the
six
secret
thousand
sauce behind
studies.
cannabis here.
Yeah, we've
I
really
like
plotted
it.
out the strength of each of the terpenes, each of the cannabinoids, the synergy of how they interact together.
Okay.
We just need the raw COAs from the lab results. We look at the volumes of the cannabinoids and terpenes, how they synergize together, and we can do an analysis that will tell you, the different adult use effects, medical effects as well. So, as far as breeders, they can look at the different effects of the parents that they might be selecting for breeding to breed in much more intentional, intelligent ways, knowing which ones score the best for the ultimate goals. For pheno hunting, you can look at thousands of phenos within minutes and really cross-reference the empirical data that we have in the algorithms to understand their effects. And to step back a second, just kind of explain how this was built. We took 6,000 studies. We really quantified the strength of each compound, how they interact together. We built out
6,000 studies. That's a
6,000
lot.
studies.
That's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of
been 20
studies.
years of going through. So for each compound, each effect, we have over 100 human studies looking at the isolates of the compounds of cannabinoids, terpenes, the difference of their strengths for each of the effects. So we're able to create this large system that can look at all the parts in the COA, understand how they come together, and really give you that projection of overall types of effects.
Are we able to show that on the? You got it. Okay, you can.
Yeah, if you want to
So
show it on the
look,
screen.
share the screen. Share the screen. Producer, could you share the screen?
So
It's being shared, right?
Yep.
All right.
we're
Go ahead.
good. So here's an example of somebody
What are we
sending
looking
in.
at here?
Somebody sent in 400 COAs.
This looks like my EKG.
Each item on the x-axis down here is a different strain. You have 707 headband, sour diesel, blueberry cookies, blue
Right.
cream, etc. And we cross-reference the raw data in the COAs, and we can tell you the different effects that it'll have for sleep or how comfortable you feel or focused or creative. And you can actually pinpoint the exact effects that you're looking for. So if you're breeding towards something, if you're pheno hunting towards something, you can load hundreds or thousands of COAs at once and instantly see which ones have the highest score for that effect. So if you're looking for strains that had to do with sleep, 30 seconds, you can load up hundreds of strains and instantly see which ones are going to stand out for sleep.
Opposed to smoking copious amounts of cannabis from a pheno hunt and having 2 or 3 people in a back room smoking genetics back to back to back to back and going, this is the winner. This is the one for everybody. The way we're deciding what is going to be put out on the market is not using science in any way. It's all just backroom bro science, anecdotal data.
So,
But you still need the taste test. I mean,
of course, you need
But
the
there's
taste
things
test.
that you can't taste. There's things that you
Exactly.
can't understand about the
So-
plant that I can't.
Let's say you're trying to see how well it works for diabetes. You can't smoke a strain and be like, oh, it's a 7.56 on the 1 to 10 scale, of course, right? It's like putting your finger in water and knowing the exact temperature from that type of perspective of understanding what's going on. So
my problem is I put my finger in something I don't know if it's water or what. I have I look at terms like happy and I'm like, what does that mean?
So happy is
Creative.
positivity. Creative is going to be thought, provoking thoughts.
Yes.
What's really different
I
about
like to be
this is
creative.
we're leveraging those 6,000 studies to make this analysis. It's not based on
Interesting.
anecdotal data, subjective data, user reviews. We're going directly to the studies to cross-reference what's in your genetics. Taking it an even step further, you can mix and match. So let's say breeding towards genetics, pheno hunting, a customer is going to a dispensary trying to find the right strain for them. You can choose multiple effects. So they could say, hey, I have trouble sleeping. I also have anxiety and I have pain. And what this will do is it will recalculate which of those genetics score the highest for those 3 or multiple combined effects. So it's not
Right.
just matching you for sleep. You can say, as a person, these are the 3 things I need. And we can, on that micro level, cross-reference all of the genetics nearby. We're going to be connecting these to dispensaries.
How do you like cookies, for example? There's a lot of cookies genetics out there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's
All
right.
exactly why this is
You
important.
see, Ryan, I'm onto something already. He's
So-
like that Dimitri guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
No, but so
like-
check this out. We analyze the COA, which is
Like
the final form.
He's like a fact checker over there.
So the COA is the final form, the environment it was grown, the expression, the cannabinoids, the terpenes you have. We analyze that final form to tell you what that sample of cannabis is going to do. So even the same cookies strain grown in different environments may express different cannabinoids, terpenes.
Mhm.
And for each one, we can analyze that different profile to say, hey, when it's grown this way, you should expect this. When it's grown that way, you should expect that.
But how does the customer? I mean, how will the customer ultimately know how it was grown?
Well, the COA tells us everything we need to know because, the way it's grown details what's present when you do the lab result to see what's in it. So at the end of the day, we can just look straight at the COA. We can look at the terpenes, the cannabinoid ratios. It cross-references the algorithms against the studies, and we can figure out which strains are going to do, have which effect for different.
Our producer wants to go to the next slide.
Yeah, no
He
worries.
just likes the colorful
So
slides.
just to kind of explain the different use cases for this.
Yes.
So with brands who are building out different product lines, they can evaluate the strains they already have, understand what the benefits are. They can market those benefits directly to say, hey, if you're looking for XYZ, these strains score high in that. As far as breeding, they can look through hundreds of different genetics and understand the different effects that might come together before they make that decision. So saving time, getting products to market quicker, you can really cross-reference this empirical data to make the understanding of which genetics you want to breed. Same thing with pheno hunting. People going through hundreds, thousands of seeds takes weeks, to go through all that data. We can do it in minutes, and we can leverage it against actual empirical studies, rather than just anecdotal subjective experiences. Dispensaries, before they purchase cannabis, they can figure out what type of cannabis, how good it is at different things. So let me grab a high scoring sleep aid, high scoring anti anxiety. And then when you have customers, patients coming in asking for different strains, you can go, well, I have this and this and this, and these are really high scoring. It's going to provide greater relief than other strains in the market for this type
And
of
also give
effect.
some diversification to the portfolio. They could be really heavy in certain effects and not even realize it. This really just kind of lifts the unknowns of what we previously did not know about our genetics.
So what about like all the genetics you pick up at Hispanibus, like where all the seeds are everywhere and you're collecting seeds? I had my girlfriend at the time. She collected the seeds all over Spanibus and she took them back to Colombia and grew like 25 plants. God knows what she grew. I mean, how does are those new genetics or they're genetics that already existed, or how do you
So
how do
yeah, so we can tell you exactly the effects that those genetics have. A lot of times you have the two parents that you're breeding together. You have, expressive traits, and then you have
yeah?
recessive
I guess
traits.
those are kind of wild seeds or something, right?
Yeah, so wild seeds are going to have parents. A lot of times they're landrace genetics, so they're less intuitively, decision-based bred. But ultimately, the type of expressions you have, we can analyze the COAs and say this one's going to be good for focus, this one's going to help you get to sleep, and really understand which ones you'd want to keep, which ones aren't worth keeping, and kind of give you an understanding of what genetics are best to work with.
And that's on a small scale. Like we could breed breeders that are breeding thousands and thousands of genetics. How are you going to go through and identify what you should be focused on? This enables you to make those decisions with some support and backed by science.
So how have you guys gotten this out to the marketplace yet? Are you guys working
We're
with
here.
different?
Well, Dr. Talleyrand, actually, who's on the board of the Emerald Conference. Actually, Matthew, if you want to tell him
Yeah,
what we
so
were.
one of the other ends of what we've done, the 6,000 studies, 20 years of research we've done, we've developed proprietary cannabis profiles. So we did
Mhm.
the research of exactly which terpenes, cannabinoids are going to be best for which effect. So instead of testing the genetics that are already out there to say what they do, we kind of like created the optimal profile of if you were going to create something based on the science, what would be the best. And we built formulas based on that. So with Nicole, we had we had an HIV profile that addressed anti-inflammation, addressed antiviral, depression, each of the things that she dealt with. And we went through the data of that, where she tested out 7 of the different profiles, rated how well they did. 70% of the profiles did extremely well. So we're going forward with an actual study to look at her blood work and the changes that are actually taking place with that.
And nobody in cannabis is really creating a targeted formula for an individual. We're always trying to mass market to the blanket to everybody, but because of what we're able to do, we can really hone in and dial in a tailored formula to meet the needs of an individual patient. So it's not just knowing what the patient needs, but also taking away what the patient doesn't need out of this. And that's something else we can identify. And if you look at the tests and the history of how we've been breeding and what is in a lot of the genetics, a lot of contradicting results.
Exactly. So, we can, if you're looking for something helps you sleep, helps with pain, but you don't want something, that makes you feel anxious or, racy, we can give you exactly the effects you want while filtering out the properties that would give you the, adverse effects as well. So it's all about creating better medicine, better adult use cannabis, helping people have better relief, and
And
really,
it sounds all too good to be true.
Well, it's not. We have a
yeah,
board of
no,
doctors. We've got a scientific board of doctors that we
Like,
work with, doctors out of Oregon. They've spent the last 30 years of their life studying the endocannabinoid system. And when you meet special people like this, and they go, this is what we've been looking for the last 10 years. And then we come here and meet the wonderful doctors and people that are presenting, and they say, you're 20 years ahead of where we are today. It puts us in a good position to understand what we have.
what's a family of Noxes?
Yes.
So, a family of doctors specifically dedicated to endocannabinoid, each with a different background
Right.
within medicine.
That's interesting.
So, they actually have a combined 60 years of research in the endocannabinoid system. We've had them go through our entire system, all of the algorithms vetted out for us. They're part of our scientific advisory board for the future developments that we're building forward from this point.
So with chem and AChem, and so we also want to do good for the underserved community as well. So some of our beta testing and some of the data collection that we're doing is to help the underserved communities and provide positive, healthy, medical, efficient genetics to the right people.
So who are your customers for this?
Well, that's everybody.
Yeah.
This is a product that touches from the seed decision making on the seed process to the breeders, cultivators, to the presenting centers, the dispensaries, and to the end user.
Mhm.
So you can walk in and say, I have Crohn's disease. What's the best thing for me? So some bud tender is not going to be able to give you information on what the crosses are, So this
But they,
enables people. Go ahead.
but they will have to have pre-bred that stuff, right? I mean,
No,
pre-produced.
it's
Well, so what we
So
can do
if a
is
bartender determines you need this,
we can give you the closest match based on the
okay,
profiles that it should be.
yeah,
so like a bud tender could look at the current inventory, say this person's looking for sleep pain reduction. It would create a top 10 list about what they currently have in stock that would
Okay.
match that effect. So any level of understanding of bud tender, they don't have to know the whole entire endocannabinoid system. They can just match what the person's looking for to what on the menu
It's a
matches
tool
that.
to identify the right pairing for the right outcome for the right
you know what
patient.
this reminds me of? This reminds me of a Long Island iced tea. You know why? Because you mix those right cocktails up. I probably shouldn't say this, but it achieves certain objectives in regarding to getting people drunk. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's like you cocktail
Mhm.
the whole thing,
Exactly. And again, it's leveraging
and you could
those-
actually like squeeze the oil out of the cannabis plant and then mix it into on the spot in the dispensary, couldn't you? Into
So-
a vape pen that
That's
works.
so funny.
with our formula. So
See what I'm saying?
exactly.
Are you with
Listen-
me?
Yeah,
You
listen
see?
to this. We've talked about this.
I
This is
want
great.
this and custom vape pens.
Yeah, listen to Matthew.
Yeah, there's
we've
ways
gone
to
over
do
this.
it. That's literally what we did for the case study that they're
Okay.
presenting. So
It wasn't my original idea.
No.
We mixed the ratios with Delta 9 distillate into vape carts just to make the
Yeah.
exact formulas, and that's what she's testing. We also have systems where you can track down organic versions. So if you like that vape cart formula,
Right.
you can find the closest matches in plant form. So you can have flower versions, concentrate versions, rosin versions
Right.
beyond just the vape cart.
It's right there.
Wow. This is going. Yeah, next slide. Got a lot of colorful slides here. Want to make sure we
Yeah,
get
I
them all.
mean, we'll go through some of the
This
study.
is cool.
Our whole platform is based from the empirical, double-blind, randomized, controlled trials. Everything is based from that, statistically significant research perspective. But there's other studies on the other end that help validate what we've done as well. Won't go too deep into the science, but this is crazy interesting. So if you look at this, 100,000 people reported the different types of effects they had from different strains. And generally, if you look at see my mouse, these little blue dots right here, if lemon was the primary terpene, those blue dots were the effects that people reported. They're all grouped in the same area. 90+% of the people said, hey, if the dominant terpene was lemon, this is the effects that I had. Same thing with diesel, skunk, pineapple, strawberry, blueberry. So when we're talking about terpenes being a big part of the catalyst of the personality of the buzz, the study found 100,000 people, even though THC rates differed, CBD, etc., it was consistently the terpenes that created the personality of the buzz. THC would make it stronger, but the personality of the type of effect you have directly connected to the terpenes.
Really, that's why Eric wears cologne. Forget it.
Cool. Yeah. So
That was a good joke. I thought that was a good joke.
This is super interesting too.
Terpenes are like cologne.
There's lots of different
It's the
aspects that are
personality.
used in that as well. But this is, looking at 100,000 people, and consistently you could use the terpenes.
I didn't know people were even doing studies this large.
So that was with Leafly data of just user reviews of mass amounts
Okay.
of people input. We've done EEG studies looking directly at changes of brain activity based on different terpene profiles. So you have red sour diesel, blue Edelweiss, golden pineapple. They all have around the same THC, but different terpene profiles.
That's what everybody's doing while I'm at the beach, Eric. That's what's going on here.
But yeah, so we can show directly in the brain what's happening with these different profiles. Like the sativas drop out delta theta, which makes it hard to sleep. The hybrids are making it easier to sleep by increasing those. Alpha has to do with how relaxed, calm you are. So, hybrids are more calming than the blue sativas. Beta is your ability to focus. Beta 2 gamma is short-term, long-term memory. So we can literally look at the impact that each of the different terpene profiles are having on your brain and say, this one's going to impact your memory. You're going to have trouble remembering things. This one's not. This one's going to get you to sleep. This one's not. So in one way, we can use the studies to show you the effects you have. On another way, we can do actual brain studies to show each of the different product lines of different companies exactly what's going on in the brain, and really giving them a grounding of marketing exact effects that they have. We don't have to go too deep into the stuff.
This
but
is worth it.
This is a study looking at linalool, limonene, terpenes by themselves being just as effective at depression as SSRIs, Prozac. No THC, no CBD, no cannabinoids, just linalool or just limonene. Literally identical to Prozac. So if you're looking at the benefit and the power of these things, the terpenes in the mix of the cannabinoids is really a big part of what's going on. This was a study looking at which strains create anxiety. Myrcene beta-carotene is one of the profiles that create anxiety. You get this really couch-locked, like frozen ability. It's hard to talk to people. You feel kind of self-conscious. So we can help match you with the effects you want, but also avoid the adverse effects that you don't, and really get you that targeted spectrum of exactly.
And
what
as I
you're
said,
looking
these are
for.
the most common terpenes. There's a reason people look at these racy, paranoid feelings, and so
Yeah.
we can identify what that is and create products that.
That's one of my biggest issues with cannabis is that racy, paranoid feeling.
So, and myrcene carotene is more of the frozen sedative couch lock effect, more on the myrcene side. But as far as raciness, like if you have high beta pinene to limonene, like that's going to create that paranoid, racy, way too fast effect as well. But yeah, we don't have to go too deep into it. We've broken down the biological structures of how cannabis addresses pain. We've quantified which terpenes work the best for that type of process. It's like the nociception receptors. They hyperpolarize them, so it takes a lot more pain to ever get a pain signal. But we've gone through the inner workings of how the cannabinoid system interacts with the body. We've quantified which compounds are most effective for pain for each of these effects, and really leveraging hard science to help people understand the effects of their genetics, their cannabis products, how
What
to
about
breed.
cancer treatment? I mean, what have you guys done with that? Because
We haven't done any profiles for cancer treatment. There's a lot of research on cannabinoids specifically for cancer treatment. You go back to like the 70s, they had studies where they injected THC in mice, had 75% reductions in tumors.
yeah,
Cannabinoids like directly address cancer. They block VEGF, so they block the food that goes to the cancer cells. They disrupt and break down the cancer cells. So like they do a sanction on food, they disrupt the cancer cells, and then ultimately they protect the nearby cells to make it harder for it to spread. And your body naturally does this at a much weaker scale. When you consume cannabinoids, it's like an increase of the bandwidth of the CB1, CB2 receptors, which are activated with that cancer treatment. So we don't have formulas that we're using, but there's a lot of research that have not only figured out exactly how cannabis addresses cancer, but for each different type of cancer, from glioma to lymphoma and all of that. So yeah, if you're interested in that, happy to do follow-ups and share information about aspects.
He,
of
you
cancer
bring
and
up any
cannabis.
topic, but I do think
No, I
that
don't.
this
So,
is
like-
something though that I think is a real hot point, especially since we're
I'll call
talking
you
publicly
professor.
about it. Yeah, he is.
This is one of the coolest studies. So talking about the entourage cannabis, effect between cannabis and terpenes, huge debate. Do terpenes directly interact at the cannabinoid receptor site, or are they totally separate things just happening at the same time? Previous research knows beta-carotene acts at CB2 receptor. So like the extent of the crossover between it was that. This is a study 2 years ago from Nature Journal. You can see on the screen on the left-hand side, Win55 is synthetic THC. This monitors how much activation a compound has on the CB1 cannabinoid receptor. Beta pinene actually activates the CB1 receptor more than synthetic THC and delta 9 THC. A lot of the terpenes directly activate the CB1 cannabinoid receptor, and this is why strains that have 18% THC, high amounts of terpenes, will get you more stoned than strains that are 32% THC sometimes.
We can debunk the high THC
Myth
whole
of what's
thing.
going
It's
on. Each of the terpenes are all activating that same receptor site, and it's not just the THC strength that's causing that. Beyond this, we don't really have a slide to show it, but we've worked out the full biodome of each of the terpenes and how they interact in the body beyond the cannabinoid system. So like myrcene, TRPV1, COX2, different opioid receptors. Limonene interacts with the 5-HT, which is like psilocybin and psychedelics for depression and stuff. GABA receptors. So we've really plotted out the entire pathways of the cannabinoids, the terpenes, how they interact in the body through the cannabinoid system and the greater system overall.
So the Save the Terp guys were right.
Yeah, terps are
Who's
important.
that? Is that Boveda?
THC and
That was
CBD
Grove.
are very medical too.
Grove bags? Does that Save the Terp? It's all right. Hey,
Terp block. Yeah, Jack.
does that Save the Terps? Was that sure? Was
There's
that?
a whole bunch of brands that
Yeah,
leverage
well,
that,
those hats
you know.
that say Save the Terps.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
But preserve the terps. You don't want to burn off the terps. You don't want to dry off the terps.
Don't save your keep for later.
They're very important elements of what's going on. But more importantly, analyze the terps. Don't
Yeah.
just get a COA with raw data. we can help you understand what that raw data means as far as the effects and what you can use it for, what you can market it, and really give you that advantage.
Long gone are the deli style dispensaries. It's gonna be all push button scientific one day with people just like the custom
If you
vape
can predict the
cartridges.
results or the effects that you're going to have and know you're doing yourself good, and why
That's the
not?
goal. We're going to connect to dispensaries where you can go online, say these are the effects I'm looking for, looks across the dispensaries and says, hey, this is your top 10 list of based on the ones that match the most what you're looking for. This is where you want to go.
You can like push a button and
This will enable doctors to prescribe cannabis.
yeah.
This is what they
that's
didn't
what we're
have. They didn't
positioning
have
for.
this to leverage to help make decisions. This is that missing link, and so we're here for it.
No, it's cool. I
Here
look
to
forward
fill
to
the
seeing
gap.
where you guys take this, where it goes next.
you.
What is happening next with your company?
Well, getting this thing protected. So we got to go through the patent process again. That'll be fun. And then we've got rolling out our products, and we're doing some of our beta testing. So, if you want to talk about the beta program, that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're identifying some of the larger breeders, cultivators, dispensaries that have really stood out to us. And we're looking for people to test this technology out before anybody else, give us feedback, have kind of a advantage before the industry to start working with this. We've built the whole system. The patent's almost done. We're getting ready for launch, and this is just that final evaluation and feedback, and just want to polish it and make sure it's everything it should be.
And more testing. We've got our first test results here at this conference, which is beautiful, but we would love to get into phase 2s and be able to really further the research with what we're able to provide. Gives us a bit of a leg up on some decision making that can fine tune and really provide some unique results that I don't think we've been able to yet.
Exactly. And we have 50 of those proprietary formulas. So the one that we used, in the case study was just one of those. They're each based on 100 to 300, studies
We're
that we
working with
use to make the decisions of why we built
NFL,
it.
we're working with, some of the biggest brands to help create products that'll have, more impact. I think we've been overcharging and under-delivering, and I also think it's our job to educate this community. We are part of it. We are this community, and it's our job to take some of the initiative. And if it doesn't exist, then let's go create it.
Well, I have a lot of catching up to do on the scientific side, and that's one of the reasons why I came to learn more, and I certainly have learned more just listening to you guys. So I look forward to researching more and understanding more and following your guys' development as a company. I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dimitri.
You clearly know what you're talking about, so I'm just a little blown away. I'm sure you guys have a great relationship, so it's pretty cool. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a
And
pleasure.
how do people find out more? Websites, social media, LinkedIn? What?
Yeah, so Cannalytics.ai, it's just C Analytics. From there, you can get to our social media, all the other aspects, and reach out if you have any questions, services that we can offer. Happy to talk.
Is that good?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. This has been another episode of Media Unshackled.